very full program today. We are going to have 3 plenaries as usual. To break it up a little bit, give you the option to stretch your legs to get some air. We have the campus mini tour, walking over to the stadium in between, with a keynote lunch and a local presentation on partnership and waste management. Come back here for plenary 3, going into working groups, and then we're going to have the our main dinner and the award ceremony tonight. Steve has reminded you that tonight is going to be outside, possibly in attendance, so bring a jacket, bring a sweater. Some other housekeeping stuff I was asked to remind people of. Please do not bring food or drinks into the working group rooms. It seems the building management is very keen on that. Also, if you've got materials you want to display, you know, articles, case studies, flyers, whatever. There's the ISCN table over this side with organization information. On the other side, on the left-hand side for me, there's an open table for you to put your things for other people. Very quickly about our plenaries. We're basically looking today at 3 aspects of partnerships. One is partnership in action, looking at concrete case studies. One is communication with external partners. And one is foundations. And in detail, the partnership we'll look at right now, partnering with neighbors, cities, and regions. So what's really around your campus. Communication. We're looking at communication motivation by rankings, ratings, and reporting as a tool to connect your efforts to what's going on outside. And then foundations, this is for the first time at the ISCN conference that we really look at more method and approach issues for partnerships, which we're looking forward to. That said, we're jumping right into the first session. Partnerships with neighbors, cities, and regions. We've got 2 presenters, one from Europe, one from the US. So Eugenio is coming. Nice. Not enough of the info. If that somebody introduces me instead of Switzerland and Sweden. Yes. So North America and so. Eugenio, you just want to start with us looking at Milano and the partnership we've got here.
Hi everybody, thank you for this opportunity. We just started our project 1.5 years ago, so I can present you some tentative partnerships and okay. So I'm going to introduce you first a bit our project, and then try to explore some issues related to partnerships. So I have to check the clock, so I thought to be on time. So our campus is in the city. It's a quite old campus. Most of the buildings have more than 100, or have about 100 years, are 100 years old. The district is quite dense, so we are surrounded by households and very rich and dense district. We share actually the first when we launched this initiative. The first partnership was together with the other university that shares the campus with us, which is the Università Statale. So we are 2 universities. Our school, the Politecnico, is a technical university where we teach engineering, architecture, and urban planning and industrial design. And on the other side, we have Università Statale, and this is the campus for scientific schools like medicine, biology, physics, chemistry, and so on. Politecnico, this is the main campus, but we have another campus in the periphery and other 5 campuses around the region of Lombardy. And the same with Università Statale, which has another main campus in the city center. So this is more or less the 3D model we are trying to implement from time to time, and this shows that we have seen beautiful campuses around in the last yesterday, and we will see other. Our campus is quite small and quite dense. We don't have many open spaces, and the open spaces we have are mostly public. So I mean roads and the public square. So those are part of the campus, and we have to work together with the city to improve the situation. Actually, both universities are public. We own our buildings, so we are quite free to manage our buildings. It's quite interesting. The good thing when we start this partnership with the Università Statale is that we have more or less the same weight on the site, on the district. The dark blue is our campus, our properties, and the bright blue is the Università Statale. We have about 17,000 students on our side, and they have also 70,000 students, more or less. And the surface we occupy is very similar. Okay. First of all, the question was, what is a sustainable campus for us? We started the project with a bottom-up approach. We joined an European project which is called Periferia, which uses the Living Lab approach. So we want to share our project with the community. The idea is we have done a lot of research on sustainability already. We have to keep or to collect all those projects together, and we build a framework, an umbrella, and we want to use this research on site on our campus. We often have done projects in China about waste, smart waste collection, but we never applied on campus. Why don't we try to apply this knowledge on site? So we were always used to apply things somewhere else, but not on campus. And we want this district to be a model for the entire city. So we try to have partnership with the city and the neighborhood. Of course, the question is, which is the community for our Living Lab? And we have internal and external communities, of course. Internal community, it means students, academic staff, and personnel, technical staff. And an external community are the citizens in general, and sometimes overlap. I am citizen in the district, but I'm also working on the university. So we work on a wide spectrum of actions, from the physical layout to campus people behavior, as most of you do. But of course, our special situation, the campus is already built, so we have to work mostly on renovation and retrofitting, and not on new buildings, of course. So I'm urban designer, sorry, I didn't say what is my role in this project. I'm part of the launch team that was established January 2011, so 1.5 years ago. I'm a researcher and assistant professor in sustainable urbanism, and I'm interested in the master planning process. I will go back to the management later, but the idea is that the project started with the academic staff, 5, 6, 7 people of the academic staff that on a voluntary base, they offer their support to establish the project. And then we involved also the technical departments. So it's quite a fluid and ongoing process of establishment of the group. So we don't have an environmental office yet, an established environmental office. We have some managers from the staff, but the idea is to work mostly on research. Okay. So yeah, so very shortly, the first year of work, we were working on management, on the evolution of the open form of the master plan, the construction of baseline. We were very stressed by the fact that we never collected data seriously on our campus, because we never had the need to do this. We just were paying bills and pay attention that we didn't have to pay fees for the wrong waste management, but we were not interested in reducing the amount of waste, because we didn't have to pay anything for extra weight, for example. And then we defined some targets, long-term and short-term targets. So the first year we established some topics we would like to work on. We didn't really fix exact numbers or targets yet. We had big discussions on this, and we just established a new energy board to define exact the strategy. So it's an ongoing process, but it was very hard during the first year to
give numbers for us. Of course, the charter we used, the ISCN charter, was a very great help to build a framework and see which areas of interest we cover and which one we don't. And then, as I said, the first and the most important thing is we are using a bottom-up approach. So we totally opened the project to everyone. We start with a call to the departments and students and say, who has idea, please share, please contribute to this project. And so the first big project was to establish a complex web platform where everybody could share their ideas, could upload ideas, proposals, opportunities, problems, everything. And then we released one, maybe I can, we released a website, and then there will be a new one soon. The first website was open only to the community, internal community students of Polytechnico and State University because of there was an issue of security, and we couldn't open really the system to citizens yet. But with a new version, we open also to citizens. So also citizens can contribute and participate in the process. Okay, so as I said, we just work on a voluntary basis. Who wants to share their ideas, who wants to participate can do that, can access our discussions, our tables. Everybody, of course, has his own interest. I want to do research on sustainable urban planning, so I'm interested to follow the project and so on, and other people do. So the idea is you bring your ideas, you can use the project as a framework, as a case study, and then you can provide, or you can get fundings from other sources like European funding and so on, and try to join and know people. So this is another type of partnership. Okay, let's go straight to what we mean on what we mean with partnerships. So we have internal and external partnerships. First of all, I think the internal partnerships were the main achievement of this project for the first year, because first of all, the partnership with the two universities, it was the first time the two universities shared such a big commitment and a very large project. So this was the first big achievement. Then the fact that we can share experiences between students and professors sitting at the same tables, which is not really always the case in Italy, especially. So the students are very shy when they have to talk to professors, and professors don't really want to share or sit down on the same table with students, but often the best ideas come from students. So it was very interesting to follow this process. And then it was also interesting for me as a part of the academic staff to meet with other people from other departments. So I never, I discovered some works, some researches from other departments that I didn't know they existed. So it's a good, it was a very good experience to start also some connections with other departments, and this was really also appreciated by the central. By central offices, because this is something we want to improve at our universities, where we still have very big walls between the departments, and sustainability is a topic that really can bring things together. And then the other really important point is that for the first time I had to start a collaboration with technical and administrative offices. It was never the case before. I just called them from time to time, but we never worked together really, and it's really exciting. I mean, they are very happy to work with research, the fact that we are trying to implement some innovative research on campus, so that they can be involved, and then they can sit down on the table all together and start doing something important for our university. And then, of course, we have external partnerships with the district. Of course, we have many institutions on the district. We have important hospitals, we have schools, primary schools, and then associations, of course, and then the main partner would be the district council, which has about 300,000 inhabitants, just the district. So it's a quite big institution. And of course, the relation with the district council is quite delicate. So we are inside the district. We have a lot of public squares. We have roads, public roads crossing the campus and cutting the campus. So these are part of our campus, but we cannot design the public space. We can give suggestions. So it was very delicate to define our role in this project. So if I have to design or think about the master plan of the campus, I also have to draw lines on public spaces. But who am I to decide what to do for a public interest? So so when we sit down on the table, and it's very important to define which is our role, and then we were basically sharing or presenting our ideas to the public. They give us their feedbacks, and then we basically are collecting all this information, all this data in a report about studies and researches about public space that we want to give back to the city and as a suggestions that you can use when they design the master plan for the city. So it's a sort of very delicate feedbacks from one partner to the other. And then we started also partnerships at the city level with the city council, with the municipality, especially with the Department of Environment and the Department of Accessibility, Mobility, because those are the main players we can work with. We already started this kind of relations before the sustainable project, of course, but this gives a new vitality to a new push for this project. And then we have other external relations, of course, through the network, which is very important. We contacted some universities at European level that are a partner of the network, and we were able to build a team and propose a European funding, a European project. So it works very well. And then there is another partner which can be in industry, which is another delicate type of involvement. We would like to involve them in research projects on sustainability. We are a public university. We have ethical questions about how to involve private partners in the research, and we always avoid, or we could not really involve them directly to pay something for our university. But if we work together on researches on sustainability, then we can start something. So like experimenting innovative materials on site and this kind of stuff. But we have to be we pay attention on that. So when we started our project, we worked on 4 main topics just to organize ideas. It was a very quick decision and say, okay, let's, if people want to propose ideas on sustainability, let's organize those ideas into 4 topics, and you have to decide which topic you are working on, and those are people, energy, environment, and accessibility. I will go deeper into the meaning. And it works quite well. We try to build this matrix and crossing those areas with the principles of ISCN. And for example, energy is mostly dedicated to buildings and the campus activity. Also accessibility, mostly on the campus side. Of course, the principle 2 embraces most of the topics we have, and then but you can find this information more in detail on the report. Those are the first ideas we collected. We tried to make a map of of proposals that came from departments and students. This was May 2011. The first call was not online. We didn't develop the website yet, so it was just a proposal that were submitted via email. And then we tried to group and recognize macro areas of interest and the topics that were completely not considered, and the ones that had many ideas. And then so we got the first map. And this is the first, the release of our website that we are going to launch end of July. It's, of course, it's in Italian and English as well, so you can give a look. We, as you say, as I said, we start with those 4 topics, and then once we had a critical mass, we started to work on thematic tables. So this is the management of the structure today. So we started with people proposing from the community, and then we started with 4 thematic tables that share this information, and then bring all the researchers together and propose activities, actions, and results. And on the other side, you have a management group, a launch board of the initiative from both universities that are responsible for the master plan and for reporting. And initially, the technical offices were outside, but then we decided to include them and bring them inside the tables so that we work all together. Those are some pictures from the tables. This is a very important picture because we are actually working in a very, with many offices, with many people, and the idea is that sustainability can create those types of alignments, and in a long-term process we can redirect all our actions towards sustainability, but it takes time. For example, we have a plan of works that is released every 3 years, so we have to wait that with the new plan of we can enter new green procurements and new rules that goes towards sustainability, but it takes time, so we cannot change everything tomorrow. I skip this. I want to show you maybe some works very briefly. I think I have still 3 minutes. So, for example, the table people is working on many different projects to include students and try to collaborate, to find a collaboration with students and staff. So they are working on challenges. They launch challenges online to find ideas for sustainable lifestyle on campus. And we established also, we are establishing a project which is the Code for Sustainable Behaviors, which is not something top-down, but it's a sort of wiki where people have to give their tips to sustainability. So it's something that has to be shared and not given top-down. And then we had many workshops with students that propose their ideas. Then we won some European funding. For example, we won a Smart Campus project, was funded by a European project to use ICT technologies for supporting sustainable behaviors. And then other projects created by students were actually invited and sponsored by other initiatives outside the campus. So it's something is happening actually. So this was the campus is a very good framework to promote projects actually. I wanted to maybe I skip these issues. We are running out of time. We have many initiatives going on, but we need stronger partnership with the city to make them happen. So we have for example, Green Move and Green Carpooling project, but as long as we cannot share it with the community, it doesn't work very well. So it's still at the beginning. We need people, we need to communicate our initiatives and so on. Then we have projects going on waste collection, and also these needs a strong involvement of the citizens outside the city. So just to conclude, we open another table beside the 4 thematic tables, which is the table city. And we are really trying to open our initiative to the community, and we are trying to organize more and more workshops with the citizens and with the city council. I stop here, but I give you the slides, so if people that want to know more about the project can do that. I have many projects. We have many projects going on, so it's okay. I hope that's it. Thank you.
At the end of the session. So if you've got a question, keep it in mind, and we've got like a 10-minute section at the end of the session to ask questions about both presentations.
All right, does this work? Can you hear me? Yes? Is that working, Steve? Yes? Okay, perfect. I should just let Eugenio keep presenting because this is far more interesting than mine will be. And since I'm in the United States, you know what we're doing here anyways. So I'm the Director of Development for SFU Community Trust. So just background, Simon Fraser University is in Burnaby, which is an adjacent city to Vancouver. I think I've got a shot of the neighborhood here. So if you've been to Vancouver, you probably wouldn't know if you've been to Burnaby or not because everybody just calls the region Vancouver. But the Lower Mainland, as we call it, has never been a consolidated municipal area. So the Lower Mainland consists of many municipalities, all with their own municipal governance. So the city of Vancouver, for example, represents only about 450,000 people out of the 2.9 million, I believe, in the Lower Mainland area today. So it's collectively known as Vancouver. Burnaby is the closest then neighboring municipality to downtown Vancouver. So that's the campus you're looking at there on top of this hill, which we call a mountain. And that's the downtown core, so it's about 13 kilometers away, which is probably about 9 miles away, so very, very accessible to the downtown core. There's a satellite campus in the downtown core. There's also a satellite campus in the other direction, probably about where I'm standing in the city of Surrey. Simon Fraser University was built out of an era of campus building across Canada. There was a lot of federal, provincial, and municipal lands that were not being utilized, and it was seen as a good idea from the federal and provincial levels at the time to develop these large institutions and to build them sort of monolithically all at one time. This was the program for SFU to bring academic foresight to Western Canada. So the campus was really designed and built in one giant chunk by noted Canadian architect Arthur Erickson and his partner Massey. They developed the campus over, Wendy's here, but can probably correct me, about 3 years, right, Wendy, to build the entire campus. Today, SFU is home to about 25,000 full-time students, a couple thousand or more faculty and staff, so a fairly significant academic institution in Vancouver. But Arthur and the team at the time always considered Simon Fraser University would be a place of academic respite. You know, up on the hill, it's a place where people can get away and think. So ultimately, it was a commuter campus. It was also a challenging campus because one thing Arthur did recognize is Simon Fraser would never be successful if it didn't have a strong residential population. So serving in its first 20 to 30 years as a commuter campus primarily didn't help sort of the social sustainability components of Simon Fraser. While it was a radical university attracting a lot of really interesting social thought, it was also a university of high suicide rates, challenging enrollment because of the isolation and because the sense of this disparate nature from the city itself. So as Vancouver has grown and the Lower Mainland has grown to over 2 million people, obviously we have the problem that much of North America has, of course, and that's sprawl. So this, the mountain you can see in behind is Burnaby Mountain. And so you can see what's happening all around Burnaby Mountain. And so as Simon Fraser University started to explore in the late 90s, how do we become a more livable campus environment? How do we bring people to our school? And SFU really started embarking upon what they call now an engaged path, where they want to engage the community, bring university to the community, but also bring community to the university. They sort of started to rationalize their land assets in the face of this sprawl. And the city of Burnaby was no stranger to suburban growth patterns. That was their modus operandi as a municipality, was, you know, typical low density, single family home, auto-oriented, standard sort of North American model. So SFU, I think, was very foresightful in the late 90s in that they started rationalizing their land use. They realized they were going to be a campus of campuses, much like we heard from Eugenio. They were going to have their downtown campus. They were going to have their Surrey campus, which wasn't envisioned at the time, but this idea of expanding into the communities. And they were not going to need the entire land holding they were granted at the start of their campus development period. And there's a lot of universities throughout North America that are like this, that have large campus land holdings. And with the move towards spreading your universities through the urban fabric and consolidating and densifying your universities, they're realizing they have a land asset. In Canada, and I don't know if it's the same in the States for publicly funded institutions, there's also less and less and less public funding coming to the institutions. So they have to become their own economic and revenue generators. So what happened is they realized we had about, or SFU, the mountaintop, had about 65 acres of land within what's effectively called the ring road that was never going to be used for campus academic development. They wouldn't need that space. So how could they best use that asset? And so with the growth of Vancouver's population just booming through the early 90s, and density encroaching the downtown core and density becoming a more accepted form of development, a design charrette was held with 3 design teams, the local community, the local municipality, because this is in the city of Burnaby, to look at the options for bringing a market residential community. So not a student residential community, but a market residential community to the mountaintop. Because of its access to all of the cities in the Lower Mainland. Burnaby is conveniently right in the middle, so very desirable for employees, commuters, etc. At the end of the day, all of the plans envisioned a higher density community than the city of Burnaby had envisioned, all located within the ring road. So initially, Simon Fraser University also had about 160 acres of land below the ring road. And were allowed to build about 5,000 housing units through this process, somewhere in that total 160 acres below the ring road, 65 acres within the ring road. All the teams proposed it within the ring road. It wasn't a density that the city of Burnaby was comfortable with. It was a density they thought would not promote family living, would promote short-term occupancy, and would promote more of an investor-based ownership, not a real live-in community. However, a bunch of coins were tossed and a bunch of voodoo was done, and 165 acres were transferred into permanent conservation area. So the area surrounding the mountain is now in permanent conservation area with wonderful trails, ecology, habitat for coyotes, black bears, you name it, they live in the forest. So preserve that ecology, preserve those salmon spawning streams, and move all the density into the mountaintop. So at this point, phase 1 is built out, so that's the gray shaded area. We've got about 3,500 folks living in that community now. In about 6 to 8 years, we've moved 3,500 people in. Phase 3, the blue area, is zoned, and 2 development sites are 2 are almost finished construction, 27, 28. And then 29 and 16 are starting construction this summer. That'll represent another about 1,500 folks into the neighborhood. And then phase 4, the green area, is just completing its rezoning right now, and we already have land interest from developers in there. But students aren't dumb people. So they said, well, what's going to happen with all of this money? And what kind of community is this going to be? Is this going to be inaccessible to us? So the university did go to the student population and say, what makes a community? So all of that conversation ultimately led to our design guidelines and requirements, and this is all on our website at University, with a C, university.ca for Canada. So go to university.ca, and most of the stuff that you're seeing here you can download. But we really worked with the student population and the campus population and the community population to develop a mandate and our 4 E's. So what was our mandate? One was to create endowment wealth for Simon Fraser University. So the first thing SFU did is they set us up. So I don't work for the university. I work for the Simon Fraser University Community Trust. So they've trusted those lands to us to develop as though we're a market developer. So we're the big bad guy that's out in the marketplace. And our objective is to do what a developer does, return 15 to 20% profit on an annual basis to the university as an endowment. So that endowment can only be used for teaching and research. So again, the students immediately see the responsibility of our development to them. So it doesn't go into general revenue. It can't build, new public works at the university. It has to be dedicated to teaching and research so the students get the direct benefit of this community growing up beside them. And then the next one the students threw at us was a sustainable community. This was the era of the Brundtland Commission and lots of use of the word sustainability, but not a lot of definition in an urban context of what that would mean. But they said we need it to be a model sustainable community if this was going to happen. So in order to define that, we went through our own process and developed what we call our 4 E's. So environment, equity, economy, and education. So we're all familiar with the 3 legs of the sustainability stool, which is typically your economy, equity, environment. We added a 4th E called education to make sure that we are continually making those ties back to the university. So it's not just about the endowment, it's about an ongoing approach of learning from one another. And also, the idea of the 3-legged stool, of course, is if one leg of the stool is underdeveloped, the stool doesn't stand. Well, if you add a 4th leg, as my boss would say, it allows you to royally screw up on one of the 4 E's, and you still have a stool that will stand. So I'll just take you quickly through our E's. So environment, which is what most people equate sustainability to when you go out on surveys on what is sustainability. They'll always bring up energy, carbon, we should drive less, blah, blah, blah. They're usually environmentally related targets. So in order to address the environment component, we've done several initiatives. One is we have the first comprehensive green zoning bylaw in North America. There's a lot of what's called CD, or comprehensive district bylaws in North America, where they say, oh, well, this is a new building, you're getting additional density, you should do LEED Gold. It's sort of like the slapstick solution to green zoning. But what we did is we worked with the municipality, we worked within the Canadian Municipalities Act, and we actually developed a comprehensive bylaw. So it's not under a new zoning or anything, but any developer that builds in this area of Burnaby has to undertake these green building principles. Our initiatives are all performance-based. We've opted not to use a tool like LEED. One, because the unknown at the end, a year to 2 years to certify your building. How does a municipality give somebody occupancy if they don't really know if the building has met those performance requirements or not? But also, we wanted strong performance requirements, not checklist-based requirements. So we want our homes to be 45% more energy efficient than the provincial code. Simple. We're not going to tell a developer how to do it. They just have to meet those requirements. We need all homes to be 40% more water efficient than code. Simple water balance model. You're going to prove if you've done it or not. So it's all verifiable at occupancy, materials and indoor air quality, et cetera. So we've used strong performance standards. Our developers, some of them do choose to go for LEED because they do want that plaque. They think it helps them market, or they want that for their own best interest. And what we're finding is our developers that do our green building performance system and LEED typically achieve LEED Gold. So we're fairly satisfied with that performance standard. Remember, these are market developers selling in the city of Burnaby against other market developers in the city of Burnaby. So they're building LEED Gold equivalent buildings for this and selling them for the same cost as non-LEED Gold buildings down the hill from us. So what that shows to us, if market developers do this, it doesn't cost more to build green. So we just like to sort of help take apart that mythology. From an environment perspective, we also have a sustainable energy project that's now underway. So we're connecting all of our buildings with a district energy system. So simply running hot water through all our streets and infrastructure coming from a central plant. In the short term, so from now till about 2 more years out, it'll be running off a high efficiency boiler facility, 97% condensing boilers, represents a greenhouse gas reduction over traditional energy delivery on a unit by unit or building by building basis by about 57 to 60%. So significant greenhouse gas reductions, because you guys all understand the centralization of facilities, smaller facilities, more efficient facilities. And it also takes those facilities out of condo homeowner association or strata association fees as well. So it becomes less expensive and less risky for condo owners to operate a building which isn't their core business. Once we hit 1,400 units connected, because the first phase wasn't connected to this system, then we moved to a biomass facility. And then the biomass facility, we've got a 20-year levelized contract with the local municipalities to collect their construction and landfill wood waste debris. So rather than that hitting landfill, it'll hit our biomass facility and turn that to energy. And we're partnering with SFU right now to move this to fortunately, SFU is not a steam system. It's a hot water system already. So they've got 47-year-old boiler facilities. So we may actually move faster on this and have Canada's largest wood waste to energy facility in an urban context, which will be quite exciting. And that'll represent for the campus and for us about an 82% greenhouse gas reduction, which is important to SFU because due to provincial government mandate, they have to be carbon neutral this year, and they pay carbon penalties for non-carbon neutrality. So this would almost eliminate their annual penalty payment. The other one is looking at the watershed issue, so taking it beyond the community. We're on top of a mountain. This is one of the reasons for, this is a really poignant example of why we haven't used a system like LEED, for example. So LEED encourages water reuse within your building, which is a great concept if you're down in Southeast Falls Creek where the Olympic Village was built and you're basically dumping your rainwater out to the ocean. So you should be reusing it. You're at the last stage of that water's life cycle. But at the top of the mountain, we're at the start of that water's life cycle. We're at the watershed. The Stony Creek and Eagle Creek tributaries feed into what's called the Brunette Watershed. The Brunette Watershed and our tributaries are salmon-bearing. It's also the second most endangered watershed in British Columbia. So if we start pulling water out of that watershed, we further endanger that watershed and we remove the spawning grounds for the salmon below, because salmon are a great indicator species in the Pacific Northwest. So what we do is we require all of our developers to capture 100% of the stormwater that lands on their site. And again, we don't tell them how to do it. They don't need to do green roofs if they're not comfortable with that technology, or they can use cisterns as long as they store it on site and release it to our community systems, which you're seeing in this image, at a rate and flow that mimics if their site were a forested environment. So we're taking that rain and we're slowing down that flush cycle. We're bringing it out into our system of swales, ditches, ponds, and then once we're through the remediated ponds, the water is water quality tested. It should be at what's called pre-development condition, and then it's moved out via weir structure and gravity to 7 tributaries of the Stony Creek and Eagle Creek watershed. And to date, that water is reaching that in a way that a salmon spawning at the bottom of the hill doesn't know a residential community of 3,500 people exists above it. LEED would give us no points for that because it's not driven by context. Equity is really important in Burnaby, in all of the Lower Mainland. If you're familiar with Vancouver, downtown housing prices are about $700 a square foot. Burnaby housing prices are about $500 a square foot, so it's expensive to live in Vancouver. A 1,000 square foot home is $500,000 in the Lower Mainland. So we wanted to create a community that's available for a diverse segment of the population and provide options to buy or rent. So our first building, a mixed-use building, the Cornerstone Building, is 114 units worth of rental housing that we built on day one to, again, ensure that the campus community that didn't want to live in traditional res has an opportunity to rent market-style housing adjacent to the campus. We have Verdant, which is a subsidized housing project for faculty and staff. And we also select our developers on a matrix selection. So it's not always on lowest bid to sell at highest, or highest bid to sell ultimately at highest price as well. But we look at what kind of product the developer is going to build and what niche we're trying to fill with that development parcel. So we have stuff that sells on the market for anywhere between $360 a square foot up to about $509 a square foot, so that we're serving that middle market community in Vancouver very well. And then we're also allowing some of our obvious magnificent sort of view sites to cater to those higher end developments. It brings us good profit, but it also respects the needs of the university and the middle market community. This is the Verdant project. So it's stacked townhouses. It's primarily families living here. These are big units in this building. They're mostly 1,100, 1,300 square feet. So these are family-oriented units. This is sold to faculty and staff for 20% below market value. That's held in a covenant on the title, a legal covenant on title. So they're allowed to enjoy the appreciation of their investment as real estate goes up. But when they're ready to sell it, they get an appraisal from a real estate agent, one of 3 respected parties, and then they just drop the price by the same discount they purchased it on their covenant. So that's held in perpetuity on title in the land. And so far, resales in this building, it's only 3 years old now, have gone very well. We typically have a waiting list of about 20 faculty, staff, representatives that would like to move into this facility. It's also got a childcare facility in it as well. This is actually Canada's most energy efficient wood frame building at 70% below code. It's got its own geothermal system, solar thermal hot water. Equity as well is we work with SFU to ensure our community has access to all of the campus facilities at a very discounted rate. So all of our residents, whether they're a part of the campus community or not, and about 35% of our residents live, work, play in the campus, and the rest of them just choose to live here because they think it's a wonderful environment or it works well for their commute. So for $19 a month, they have the ability to use all of the leading edge sports facilities. They get discounts at the theater. The library's starting to have normal books for the residential community, all kinds of great opportunities. So it saves us having to build redundant infrastructure with community facilities when we have these incredible facilities right next door. Economy is important for us too. So we built our first high street building on day one to show we were serious about engaging the community. We built it on the town square, which is right adjacent to the main bus loop for the university as well. So really connecting the community to the university. We want them to feel like they're an integrated component. We used to call this the town square, the town and gown square, because that's where town meets gown. But somebody from the United States sued us for it, for the name. So we no longer, now it's just the town square. But anyways, the other thing we've done is we have a preferential leasing policy. So we continue to own all of the retail and commercial space. We build all of these buildings ourselves. And we have a priority to lease our space to non-large corporate entities. So we don't have Starbucks, for example, or McDonald's. They'd love to be here, or in Canada, if you've been there, Tim Hortons. They'd all love to be here, but we try to find local merchants and vendors as our primary tenants, and we work with them. It may mean rent reductions at the start, and we work with them to move them up to market rents once they've become a successful operator. We have a couple of exceptions. For example, you see a Subway sign there. There's a small integrated Subway that's a local franchisee owned by Renaissance Coffee Shop, which is a strong SFU presence throughout the campus and has been for years in building SFU programs and equity. So we are market driven. To date, we have actually returned a revenue of about 21% back to the university, so we're doing better than a traditional developer model. So we do well on land sales, we do well on development sales, we do well on rental income. And typically our housing costs continue to be below that of the Metro Vancouver average, which is telling because typically a building in our community, 140 units, we just had one sold out in about 8 weeks. So sales are brisk. People want to live in this community. Houses are 18 to 25% lower than the surrounding region because we're not necessarily selling to the highest priced developer, but the best use of a variety of resources. And what we're finding out is families are moving into the community like crazy. So families are obviously not afraid of high density, particularly when they have elementary schools, daycares, grocery stores. We have a 25,000 square foot grocery store now. We have a full service elementary school, all within walking distance of their community. So families are choosing to live in this environment faster and faster. As we found out, I think it's the colder winters up there. People cuddle more and babies happen. And then our ties, obviously, to education. So this is Convo Mall at Simon Fraser University, a piece of iconic Arthur Erickson architecture. But we have lots of initiatives. Our new child care facility that we've just opened has a research facility with the Faculty of Early Childhood Education. SFU Child Care Society runs all of our child care. We have 2 internship students every summer. We have the urban design group and the urban studies group do several charrettes throughout the year that we host. So we have a continual interaction. A lot of the bioscience students are doing research on our aquatic systems and our stormwater management systems and help us with the monitoring. So it's that continual feedback that we're building community that is market community, but it's a market community that's also for the university to experience and be an integrated part of. And hopefully we give back not just money, but real learning opportunities. So it's become a community of education. So what SFU has helped us realize, and the very strong faculty of education at Simon Fraser University, is that we are truly building the next generation in a different life cycle environment. These kids are growing up in a more sustainable community. They're growing up in a community where car ownership is 0.9. So we have 37% families. We have car ownership of 0.9. 70% of SFU takes the bus to school. 40% of our community takes the bus to work. 30% works at SFU. So we only have a car ridership of, I don't even understand how that math works, maybe 10% or so. So we don't have a lot of cars in this community. The elementary school, which was an old campus building that we retrofitted with the school district to LEED Gold standards, is also a BC Hydro solar demonstration project. About 30% of its plug load is on solar. So the kids are going to school, they're learning things different. These buildings are monitored in a way that children can understand. So there's blackout days where the kids all go and switch off all the lights and they run to the monitors and they see what their energy load has done in the building, or they'll all flush the toilet at the same time. Then they'll run to the monitors and see so they're constantly learning what their actions mean in terms of the environment. There's outdoor classrooms. There's one around one of the stormwater ponds, an amphitheater where the children can learn. And so we're starting at that age. We thought we'd start even sooner. So this is our new childcare facility. Jason will probably speak to this at lunch today. Great speaker from the International Living Future Institute. This is what's called a living building. So this is what is life after LEED. And life after LEED is basically a zero impact building. So we thought we'd try to, every time we build a building, we try to do better than we're asking our developers to do. Because the story is, if we're willing to do more, they should be more than willing to do just as much as we're asking them. So this building generates 100% of its own energy needs on an annual basis through solar thermal system that's on the roof of the building. It cleans all of its own black water on site, so the children understand that waste flow. It's treated back to puddle water quality and then used for the on-site irrigation. All the gray water is reused for toilet flushing, running the laundry after it goes through UV filtration systems. The building is sourced with 100% non-toxic materials. Try to build a building these days without PVC in it. Pretty challenging. You wind up getting your fiber for your internet services from the aerospace industry because the rest of it's usually in a PVC sheath. So it's a very exciting process to try to do living buildings. But what it taught us a lot about was that it's not just about the building, which is where a lot of our rating systems tend to reside, is more in the building format. But the living building challenge really embraces several petals of a flower. So it really takes in and respects the site. And not just the immediate building site, but you're allowed to scale jump and understand the site on the larger context. So we can capture our rainwater, and we don't have to deal with it all specifically on our site because we have this other rainwater system where none of it ever goes into a municipal system. So you're allowed to sort of expand your building and really look at it at a community scale. Energy is pretty clear. You've got to do all your energy on site. Your material is very challenging, all the way to having your contractor calculate their construction carbon footprint and then purchasing a one-time offset, so your building truly is a net zero building. Your water I spoke about already. Your indoor quality, naturally, it's about a civilized environment. So again, we're not going to tell you how to ventilate, or they're not telling you how to ventilate your building. It's a performance standard, but you have to have 100% fresh air in your building. And then beauty and inspiration is respected. So and that's the one that really got our design team, was beauty and inspiration, because you're putting the first generation of humans into this building. And so you're going to hopefully fundamentally change what they expect in architecture and placemaking in the future. So that's sort of the beauty of the Living Building Challenge. And Jason, like I said, is going to talk about it, so I'm not going to go in detail. But part of the story, this building just opened in April. We're confident it will be a living building. It will achieve all of the petals. There's 50 children in the facility, so it's immediately full and subscribed. But the story, as you look through these images, whether you're an architect or not, you can see how simple the building is. It's designed with some passive house principles. It's south-oriented. It's an incredibly tight building envelope. There's almost zero mechanical systems other than the pumps to run the solar thermal system in the building. It's all naturally ventilated. It's all stack effect, so pushing the hot air from the bottom to the top. It's tied to our neighborhood energy utility for any additional energy that's coming through the solar thermal system. It's entirely a non-toxic facility. And so what happened here is every living building, there's 3 that are certified. There's several that are in the certification process, about 7 or 8 in the certification process. The most cost-effective one has been about 30% more than a traditional building, which, you know, you're trying to do something new. It was like the first LEED buildings. They cost more, and now LEED doesn't cost any additional except for the certification fees. Well, by simplifying the building, looking at our materials and our material flows, you can see the wall systems is pine beetle. We have a pine beetle epidemic in British Columbia. These forests are all killed right now, cut down. So we salvaged one of the forests, took it to a mill site, had it all milled to dimensional lumbers. This building is made out of 2x4s and 8 and 10 foot lengths that are screwed and glued, basically. It works for earthquake structure. Your interior structure is the same as your exterior structure, so it's a simplification of building and building systems, creating, I think, beautiful space. So we delivered this building to the highest building standard, we think, in the world today. It has a zero impact building. We sourced all of the exterior play features from local artists. So rather than going through play equipment catalogs, we had local artists build all of the play equipment for us, and we paid them fair wages. It's hard for local artists to make money these days. So we embraced them in the project. And I'm just trying to get to a slide here. At the end of the day, our cost for a full turnkey facility was 18% less than the city of Vancouver takes to build LEED silver childcare in the Lower Mainland. So through the simplification of the building structure, and these are Vancouver construction costs, which are stupid, so it probably makes no sense to you. But at the end of the day, what you want to look at is for a turnkey facility, the city of Vancouver on average spends $106,000 per child to build daycare. And we built this facility on a turnkey cost of $82,000 per child. So significant cost savings and a significantly more sustainable life. So that's what we're trying to do at Universe City, is building a complete community. And community for us means the urban community that's a part of the city of Burnaby with city of Burnaby taxpayers, but also the campus community. I like to think that SFU isn't the community beside us, but it's the community that we're all collectively a part of. We're trying to sort of change the nomenclature to on the mountaintop, that we all live together on the mountaintop. And so just a quick story, our residents, like I said, this is a bit of an old slide. We're at 3,500 residents by the end of this summer, closer to 5,000 residents. We're now at 37% of households include children. And then this is interesting. So we've recently done a study comparing our total GHG emissions now that we're connected to our neighborhood energy utility. You see some of the leading sustainable communities in the world. And right now our residents are using 3.5 tons, creating 3.5 tons per capita of carbon on an annual basis. When you compare that to BedZ, the first zero carbon community, they're at 3.6 tons currently. So I think we're achieving a pretty successful story in the North American context. So there we are at the mountaintop on the hill. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Wonderful. We have time for maybe like 5 minutes questions. Anybody question for one of the speakers?
Thank you. On the Child Care Center, can you speak to how your zoning bylaw changes helped get through some of the water efficiency standards in building challenge?
Well, our zoning bylaw changes for the market developers really just requires them to capture 100% of their stormwater on site. So all of this was entirely new to the city of Burnaby. And water, other than sourcing materials, which was an architectural challenge, but from a policy challenge, the water was the most difficult. We were a committed, naively or stupidly committed client for the architect team. So the Blackwater system didn't get approved until 3 days before we opened the building, so we built it illegally. We more or less decided that if we built it while the local health authority and the local municipality were busy assessing it and reassessing it and reassessing it, that we would sort of be able to, sort of the peer pressure of we built it, they will come. I know not a lot of regular developers would assume that risk. So we did that, but by doing that, we also had regular visits from their inspectors, and they started to get comfortable with it. I don't know if anybody here is a mountain biker or a trail runner or a skier, but the first time you do a Black Diamond run, say skiing, it seems really hard. The 16th time you do it, you're looking for the next bigger challenge kind of thing. And that's how it was with the Fraser Health Authority and with the city of Burnaby. The more they came up, the more they trusted our team, the more they got comfortable with it. So like I said, about 3 days before we opened, we got all the permits in place.
Any other questions? Ariane?
I have a question to Eugenio. You said, oh, we developed this plan in a participatory manner. We opened this really impressive repository for ideas, and what was the return rate? I mean, first from students and staff, and how many people did really engage? And how did we recruit and advertise this, and what documentation did they have to engage?
Okay, good question. I didn't tell about numbers. We actually involved on the tables. We have a mailing list of about 200 people, participants, but for now they are mostly from staff, from academic staff, so researchers. We have few students yet. Students are involved through professors that join the project. So they, for example, if there is a urban design studio or architecture studio, and the case study of the class can be sustainable campus, so students know about the project and join the project. Otherwise, it's we are trying to involve students more and more with initiatives. We are promoting a campus, sustainable campus day in October, but the fact is that whereas the staff is permanently at Politecnico. They work and live there for many years. Students are changing quite rapidly, so they don't have much free time, and when they do it, it's just voluntary. So we need to implement, through the challenges, we want to implement the rate of involvement of students, competitions and workshops and this kind of initiative. I have to say that we have the platform, which is a great tool, but people tend to, I mean, especially professors and so on, they tend to send emails and paper copy of the proposals. They are still a bit resistant to upload the things online. So that's another issue. So we have many more proposals on the table than the one you can see on the website, and this is a bit an issue. Okay, I don't know if I answered.
Great, thanks. Because we tried a very similar thing about marketing. May I ask how many staff you have, just to know the proportion of staff?
Okay, in the staff of the Politecnico, we have 1,400 people, more or less, on this campus, and including technical staff and professors. And so involved are about 200 people participating to the tables, but actively, I mean, people that really propose and work on researches, I would say it's less than half of those people. But slowly we are growing to increase.
Jack, you had a question back there?
The URL of this website?
Sorry?
The URL of the website, can you tell us?
Okay, it's campus /sostenibile.polimi.it, but you can find this on the charter then, on the ISCN charter you find the link.
Jack?
Yeah, two questions, Dale. You talked about the issue of gray water, black water remediation, but were there any other surprises in zonings and codes? I mean, and the point is that we have, I think, problems with our fire codes that prevent us from doing, I think, logical things that would be more sustainable. Anything else that struck you as conflicts that had to be resolved?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for us is British Columbia, I think it was 2 years ago, went to performance-based code. So you can follow a prescriptive path if you want to build a typical single-family home. But there's also performance or equivalency-based code where you prove equivalencies. So this project was just a whack of equivalencies. So, you know, other than the immediate life safety code issues of earthquake, fire was fairly straightforward in this volume, and we were able to deal with it with fireproof coatings that were low VOC and non-toxic materials. So it was really just the sourcing of the materials that would meet, say, those burn rating times. But the code issue, other than water, was not a significant challenge.
The second one is the design of your daycare gives, I think, a great opportunity to look at behavioral effects on kids, and daycares are the vectors for respiratory diseases in society for the most part, and one might say that this design improve upon that. Do you really see that transmission might be reduced?
Yeah, well, we hope so. I mean, we've had the Lead Gold Elementary School running for 1.5 years. And just to sort of speak about families in urban communities, the demographics for the Burnaby School District still didn't support that this school should be built at that time. So we helped fund the school by SFU donating the building, us throwing another $1 million into it to get this public school up and running sooner than later. They hired teachers for 84 students. The school was built to accommodate 280 students. And on day one enrollment day, 187 children showed up. So the school district had a bit of a holy shit moment and hired a bunch of staff. But we don't have a health component to it. You're right. It'd be interesting to research. But what we do have is there's a lab that we've built into the building that was included in the cost for the Faculty of Early Childhood Education. And what they're looking at is the impacts of building, teaching, and that space, that structure of space on the learning environment while implementing from Italy the Reggio Emilia system of childcare delivery. So they're looking at the cognitive learning of children and documenting that through the Faculty of Early Childhood Education.
It'd be good to get some of the volatile organics and semi-volatile to measure
Yeah.
baseline.
Well, yeah, we do the full test for indoor air quality prior to occupancy and then 1 year post-occupancy. And we'll be sharing that data. We want this to be publicly available information.
Last question, Steve?
Yeah, also for Dale. So in the States, at least, our endowments are generally very conservative. And our universities are conservative in that any vacant property they have is largely seen as opportunity to build a new research space, not a residential community. And so I'm wondering what advice you would have to those of us in the room who would like to see something like this pursued on our home campuses, but might have various essentially conservative financial barriers at home to contend with. What do you say to the people who make the decisions at the end of the day to advocate for development along this path as opposed to the more traditional campus path?
Yeah, we're actually seeing a lot of interest in this model, particularly from the U.S. Ourselves are doing it in UBC. Also in Vancouver is doing it with their excess campus lands. But I think the first part is doing it's going to be tough in a university like Milano with an urban infill situation, obviously. But we've had a lot of interest from University of Minnesota. I believe the University of Michigan has been up. And what they're realizing is that they have a lot of infill opportunities in their campus. And there are universities that have recently undertaken a campus growth model exercise like SFU has, and they've said, okay, we know that at build-out we are going to need 2 million square feet. Let's rationalize now where we can really put that 2 million square feet and then see what's left over. Because, again, with our traditional North American planning models, we have pretty wide streets and boulevards. Even in our campus environments, we have a lot of surface parking. So, again, in the province of British Columbia, students are required to buy a bus pass as part of their tuition fee. So it's allowed 70% of students now to take transit. So a lot of our development has happened on 1,500 parking spaces that are no longer needed by the university. So it's really a campus growth model tied to other sustainability initiatives like the Transit Pass program. But it's already really a lot of interest from American institutions coming up and looking at our project.
Great. Thanks so much, Eugene and Dale, for a wonderful session. We are going to keep this coffee break short, and please ask you to be back in here at 10 a.m. sharp, because we're going to be link the next meeting, and to make sure that it all works, let's start at 10 a.m. precisely.
Great. I'll sit tight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience.
Absolutely.
So I wait until start gets started.
It's going to happen right now. Hello? Great. Mic check. Hello? Mic check. 1, 2. Mic check. Okay, here's the other mic. How's the sound? Oh, we're not getting feedback, but we're on the threshold of it.
That's correct. If you can back it up just a bit, that'd be great.
No, it's yours, actually, but that's okay.
It's Matt again. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. So just give me the old next slide signal, okay?
Sounds good. Will do.
Mark, is this working for you?
Yes, you sound loud and clear. How do I sound?
I'm just going to keep talking and entertaining the crowd here while they roll in from coffee.
Okay. I am getting some sort of noise as if a second lapel mic is hitting some clothing. I don't know if there's a second microphone that's hot, but I am hearing that. That's the only
There is
issue.
a second microphone that's hot. Hold on. Oh, never mind. That mic's not on right now.
Okay.
Study noise.
Yeah, whatever.
So, Mark, you're sitting at Harvard right now?
Correct. Yep, in Cambridge.
Yeah.
Okay, you can do it that way. That's fine, I guess.
Back from coffee. I hope everyone is fed and caffeinated for this next session. My name is Matthew Gardner, and I am a partner in SustainServe, one of Bernd Casimir's partners. We are a sustainability consultancy based in Boston and an office in Zurich, Switzerland as well, and we have been managing the ISCN from the very beginning under Bernd's leadership. I'll be in charge of running this second session, this second plenary, which is titled Motivating Action Through Ratings, Rankings, and Reporting. And we have a lineup of really wonderful speakers that I'm very excited to have here today. Our first speaker, as you can see, I believe this is an ISCN first. Bernd, correct me if I'm wrong on that. Right. First and possibly last. No, I think the technology is all set up. I mean, we have someone sitting at Harvard, and here we are at the University of Oregon. I think from the technology side of things, we can make this work. Our first speaker this morning is Mark Orlowski. Mark is the founder and executive director of the Sustainable Endowments Institute, which is a Cambridge, Massachusetts-based project of the Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors, really focused on looking at developing a new set of metrics and a new way of evaluating the sustainability and the sustainable investment performance of colleges and universities. So with that, I'd like to introduce Mark, and he'll be talking about the evolution of campus sustainability data collection and evaluations. So Mark, you're on.
Thank you, Matt, and good morning to everyone.
Hold on one second, Mark.
It's great to be with you. Yes.
Are we good? Okay, fire away.
Good morning. I hope everyone can hear me. It's great to be with you.
Sorry, Mark, you're still silent at this end. Let's see.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hold on.
Testing.
This was
Hello?
minutes ago. Let's. Is there someone downstairs?
Hello, testing.
Please,
testing.
Mark.
1, 2, 3, testing. Hello. Hello, testing.
Should have used.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, hello. Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Speakers.
Can you hear me? What did they change? I don't know.
Heading down to the control room.
I would tell jokes, but no one can hear me, right?
Who, he or me? Yeah, him, please.
Hello? Hello? Testing. Testing 1, 2, 3. Hello? Hello? Sounds like they should be able to hear me. Hello? Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing.
It was working 2 minutes ago, and it was.
Yes, it was.
Brilliantly.
Hello? Hello, hello. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing, testing. Hello? Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Hello? Hello, hello. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Is everything live at your end, Mark, as far as you can tell?
Yes, everything's fine. We can hear you. Hello? Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. 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 Hello? Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Hello? Testing. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Oh well. Who needs audio for a presentation anyway? If only I was fluent in American Sign Language, right? Just sign the whole presentation, have someone on the other
You
end.
don't have to get an interpreter on the other
Yeah,
side.
that's true. I guess you would, or only people that would be able to understand sign language could listen. Hello, can you hear me? Testing. What happened?
It seems like when they play with the timbre, they also switch some.
Yeah, something else.
Because
must
that's
have
the
been
last thing they did.
Yeah,
Before we.
I know. I was wondering why they were switching anything at all. Like, hello. Hello. That's hello. Hello, can you hear me? Hello. 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 Hello, hello. Testing. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Testing. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Testing. Hello. I hear the echoing, which is so strange, right? You hear the slight echo, right? The feedback.
Yeah.
Hello.
So, Mark, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I think you can hear, but we're still not hearing him.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And there.
Hello.
Exactly. So right now the control is falling, and it's not. So
Hello, hello.
We tested 3 times. They didn't exact what was the problem. It wasn't really fixed.
Hello.
Right. But that's just coming into us. If I'm not mistaken,
Hello.
override for this here, it might be simpler together. I don't know. Where's
We should just do the phone route. Can't tell them that though, because they're all down there.
from me into the control room?
What happened to the fellow we were talking about?
I don't know. Is there someone still in the control room? That in Eugene? Hello?
Yes, I'm here. We've got somebody going back to the dais to find out what happened here.
Okay. Do we want to try and do the? Do we want to try the phone?
Yeah, we're going to try that. Steve's bringing me a microphone.
Thank you. We just hit out of range, probably. So he turned it off.
Turn it off. I think the audio is being captured also in the booth for recording.
Yeah, I wonder if the recording is.
So I'm gonna get. It's one or two things. It's probably there too. It might be the problem.
Yeah, this is unfortunate.
It was working fine before they hit record.
Yes, now he's not even using a room mic.
Probably cannot hear him. There's a podium mic.
Oh, is that what he has on? They're just not wiring it through.
I don't think not all the mics works for the video conference.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, we should just go with the phone option or just can it all together, either one.
Mark, our technical team is going to be working on trying to sort out the problems at this end.
Okay.
We don't know what's going on. Apologies for the delay.
Okay.
We're going to have Professor Sari give her talk now for the next 15 minutes or so, and then hopefully we'll have it resolved so we can get the input from you. So
that sounds great. And
sorry again for the technical problems.
You can't hear me.
Okay. So with that, we're going to move ahead and have the second speaker. Go ahead.
Sorry, say again.
I'm going to bring it back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. No rush. I'll be here to handle anything.
Yeah, it's all pharmaceutical. Nothing about software there. Ever since Google moved in, it's just everything's falling apart over there. So our second speaker this morning is UI Green metric rankings of world universities. So you can see how this is relevant to this overall conversation about sustainability metrics. And she'll be speaking this morning. The title of her talk is The Road to Sustainability Excellence, Lessons Learned from the UI Green metric ranking of world universities. Professor Sari, thanks.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure for me to talk in front of you, all the experts in sustainability. Actually, my journey in sustainability was very humble. My rector I'm in charge in the ranking at the university. I'm working to increase our webometrics position. And then suddenly, because we worked hard for that, suddenly the rector asked me, why don't we start our own ranking? And this time, try sustainability. That was in February 2010. And we started to send questionnaire to universities worldwide, and eventually we have received quite an overwhelming response from many universities. So this is my university in Indonesia. If some of you don't know where Indonesia is, it's located between Asia and Australia, all the archipelagic states. So this is a picture from one of Ghg magazine last month in Indonesia. So I just would like to share it with you. So my university have 49,000 students, 6,000 academic, 320 academic programs, and located in the rainforest of 320 hectares of land in southern part of Jakarta. So the motivation was started with thinking that when things got measured in the university, things will get done. So because we learned webometrics, our institutional report, a research institute in university working hard for that, also some reports from academic, and also with the history and the success of Shanghai Jiatong University ranking, we think that this is one of the major efforts that we can put together because, well, Mark was supposed to talk about the Green Report card, and also I'm very honored to talk in front of ASHI and all sustainability reporting professionals today. But our work was based on the premise that there is a room for global ranking that will enforce measuring tools which can be used for developed and developing countries. I know that Mark's Green Report card include food and also organic food and all those high-level measuring methods to measure sustainability. But our metrics is very simple. It's just 42 indicators is included, not included those that cannot be reached by developing countries university. So based on the subjective evaluation of each university in terms of their energy consumption, their alternative energy initiatives, and also climate change measures, waste treatment policy, waste management, and water management, and also low emission transportation program. The methodology of the ranking is based on the scoring of parameters which justify green campus, environmental setting, climate change, and energy conservation programs, waste and water, and transportation management. So last year we had ranked 178 universities from 42 countries, and these are some of the results. So our scoring was based on setting and infrastructure, energy and climate change 28%, waste management 15%, water management, and transportation. We heard some university already conducted some programs, for example, providing bicycle track because we measured this in our ranking. So last month I went to University College Cork in Ireland, and they asked, why don't you put biodiversity in your in the measurement? And also I visited Chaposkari University in Venezuela. They said, look, how can we you compare us with other universities? We cannot put in this Venice, you cannot put a solar panel because it's against the law in Venice. So all of us have some constraint which cannot be put together. But once there is a methodology that has been put into to measure sustainability, probably most of us will try to work on it. So this is the ranking from last year: University of Nottingham with the score, Northeastern, University of Connecticut, University College Cork, and this is all based on the subjective evaluation of the university reporting. We got some result on comparing rural, suburban, urban, and in city center or high-rise building universities where they're located. So this is related to the ranking. We are now member of IREC, International Ranking Expert Group, in which we have to follow some principles called Berlin Principles on ranking. Some ranking methodologies such as Shanghai Jiatong, QS, and TEST will go through this auditing process conducted by IREC on ranking. So last year in Paris, Ellen Ezelkorn from Dublin Institute of Technology already considered Green Metric University ranking as one of the other ranking compared to other QS or TEST or Shanghai Jiatong ranking. So from the result, we also learn how the best practices and the expectation and the result of different universities. So we have learned that many universities already conducted a lot of programs on making a greener campus, replacing the light bulbs with compact energy efficient bulbs, recycling of asphalt, cutting the consumption of oil and gas and putting natural gas in central heating, recycling program, reduce and recycle, and also asking all participants, all stakeholders in the university to create a lot of activities in terms of related to green activities. And also start to put together, like all of us today, talking about how to lower the greenhouse gas emission and all the performance indicators that should be reached by the university. And also some universities like UCC already joined ISO 50001 for energy management and ISO 14001. And today in Rio Plus 20 conference, I know some of us cannot be here because they are all in Rio talking about GUNI and all other activities. They are all starting to put together in terms of how university can be the role model for the sustainable development issue in the society. And also fume replacement, window replacement, alternative energy like wind, biomass, and also smart building, and also take advantage of new and emerging technology. Well, as I told you before, many universities are now showing a lot of showcases on geothermal campus heating and cooling, like this morning from Simon Fraser University and also other universities. I think some of us are very lucky because sustainability has become one of the major issues in the university, in your university, because it's developed university. But in many universities worldwide, people are still struggling on knowing what is the performance indicator that should be followed and how to do this. And we share and we can learn from each other, and then I'm sure that this is one way. And I know that our friends in Rio are also inviting many other universities to take part in this movement. So, I've told you about the Rio Plus 20 Sustainable University. I've just seen today that they have put some questionnaire at the Leeds University to ask all universities to take part in these actions. And for your information, we are all just following, very humble, you know. It's just like following the way Shanghai Jiatong started with their ranking, and we are doing it in Indonesia. But I know that once this is going to work out, it's going to be good for our better world. So in a journal last year, Greenstead already stated that UI Grand Metric has become one of the sustainable campus performance ranking, measuring the competitiveness of sustainable campus operation performance. This can only be done by the use of ICT, because now once you put things on the web, everyone is working on it. So we are very lucky that we can make a better future of our world by providing and sharing the best practices. I think that's all for me, from me, and this has just some wayang from Indonesia, and I hope that we can talk more after this. Thank you.
For our connection back to Cambridge. So what I'd like to do now is to move on to who is currently our speaker from EPFL. Aurora Nembrini is the Sustainability Manager at the Swiss Institute of Technology of Lausanne, the École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne, where she coordinates several projects for the Sustainability Unit and is responsible for the university's environmental management system. Aurora is going to be talking about their experience doing sustainability reporting, which is kind of the next element in metrics. You collect all of the metrics, you develop a set of indicators about how well your institution is doing. So the question is really then, how do you communicate it? How do you talk about it? How do you tell people who are stakeholders both inside and outside of the university setting about what it is that you're doing? And this is just one format for doing that. So with that, I'd like to ask Aurora to come up and to do her presentation.
competition with our sister institution, which is ETH Zurich. And ETH Zurich published last year its first GRI reporting combined with ISCN framework, and then our president asked her for the same. So that's how it started. Anyway, I'd like to present to you today how reporting according to GRI guidelines actually motivated our institution for action. And before I start, I'd like to give a special thanks to Bern and Claire, who advised us and supported us during the whole process. Actually, I don't know how familiar you are all with the Global Reporting Initiative, so I'd like to present you a brief overview of the framework in case you would have never heard about it. So, the Global Reporting Initiative is a NGO created in 1997, and it was developed through an international consensus-based process by multiple stakeholders. Its objective is to standardize sustainable reporting practice by providing guidance and support to organizations. It was first intended for cooperation, but it's more and more used by public institutions. The GR framework is based on reporting principles. Two types, one for defining reporting content and one for ensuring reporting quality. There are three elements, three categories of information: the profile, which has the context of the institution, management approach, and the performance indicators. There are three levels of application depending on the extent of disclosure. The GR reporting framework is structured into the three different dimensions of sustainability: economic, environmental, social, and the social impacts are further divided into four categories. There is a strong focus on social impacts. So we combine the ISCN and GR reporting frameworks, and we consider this combination very fruitful, as the two frameworks complement each other. As you know, ISCN framework is dedicated to universities, and it proposes a management approach with objectives and targets integrated throughout. It's a more voluntary approach concerning indicators, and there is no detailed protocols, and indicators can be chosen. Regarding the GRI, it was developed to be used by organizations of any type and any size or sector. There is a set of indicators to report on and with detailed protocols. The targets and performance can be more separated. So let me now present you the EPFL context about sustainability reporting. And our commitment with ISCN. So we organized the third ISCN Gulf Conference at EPFL in 2009, and then we signed the ISCN Gulf Charter in 2010 at the World Economic Forum in Davos, and decided to support the ISCN Secretariat in 2010 jointly with ETH Zurich. Concerning reporting, EPFL has focused its reporting on environmental and energy reporting since 2001. We made our first integrated sustainable report last year based on the ISCN framework, and this year it was the first combination with the GRI framework based on the experience of Zurich. So here's the process we follow. As the GRI indicators are designed for organization of any type and any size, the first step involves testing the indicator's significance for the institution. So with the help of Bern, we organize this as so-called materiality workshop. It's a one-day workshop with all the stakeholders, and to test indicator significance with concerned stakeholders. Then the report was presented at the World Economic Forum of Davos, and then in May to the Executive Board. So what are the benefits of this GRI reporting for our institution? It's a bit early to make an analysis because it's a bit fresh, but there are some first elements I can show you. By now, the main achievements are internal. This report has become a tool for internal communication to demonstrate EPFR commitment. It was the first time that comprehensive environmental results were presented to the executive board, who was unaware of some environmental impacts related to their academic decisions. So the report contributed to raise sustainability awareness at the top level. Another benefit is that the report will serve now as a strategic planning tool. We presented jointly with the report a strategy to the executive board, and we obtained the presidential support to go forward. It also allowed us to identify some management flaws, and the main was the lack of an officer legally responsible for environmental issues. And finally, this report is an opportunity for identifying champions at all levels of our institution. For the external benefits, it's still a bit early to make some evaluation, but still, this report is a public commitment to sustainability and transparency. It was the first publication of environmental data in our annual report, the first public disclosure of social data. It supports sustainability dialogue with stakeholders, including the private sector, as we are involving networks with cooperation using GRI guidelines. It's a first possible cross-comparison of sustainability achievements with ETH, Zurich, and other universities, of course. And it positions institutional sustainability effort on the international stage. Regarding challenges that we faced, we encountered resistance to disclose information, for instance, about salary equity, and the percentage of women in senior management position. Actually, it was the first disclosure of social information, so there was more resistance in this domain. And what is interesting is that the one who were very resistant want now to use this as a reference tool and want to have it translated into French. Another challenge was some indicator criteria are unclear or inapplicable for universities. For instance, indicators regarding product responsibility are intended for organizations engaged in the manufacture of tangible products. So for this reason, several indicators in this category were found not relevant because not applicable. So that's a problem with the GRI guidelines, actual guidelines. And also the stakeholder participation could potentially have been larger. Now a few words about sustainability reporting in university. My purpose is not to present a full review, but briefly what is at stake, and especially regarding GRI reporting. So sustainability reporting is in early stages compared to sustainability reporting in corporations. There is an increasing but still limited number of universities that publish reports that address not only environmental dimensions but also social and economic dimensions. There are different tools available that were developed to provide a systematic framework, and among them ISO, Formula, IMAS, STARS, GRI, ISCN Charter, and many other structures. And a recent study about reporting tools in 35 European universities showed that the most widely used reporting guidelines are the ones related to the audit or certification processes, like ISO, IMAS, and the GRI guidelines represent only 20%. Concerning GRI reporting, and according to the GRI database, the number is increasing, but there are still only 13 universities that made a GRI report in 2011. So in conclusion, the issues raised regarding GRI reporting, there is no GRI guidelines for universities. There are some attempts to adapt them, and Rodrigo Lozano from University of Leeds proposed an adaptation in 2006, but it's still not integrated in the GI guidelines. So it would be beneficial to have indicators that address education, but also other dimensions like social and economic that are specific to universities. One possibility could be the creation of a GI sector supplement, and but now the best alternative at the moment is to integrate the GI with other available frameworks, like STARS, like did Ball State University in the US, or like we are doing with the ISCN framework. This framework complements each other, so at the moment it's the best alternative, but there is a danger to multiply the reporting work. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. What's the good word, Stevens?
Well, we're going to go as low tech as we possibly can.
Outstanding.
We were just saying out there that we think we've done the video conferencing in the 2010s, what the Beastie Boys did to rap in the 1990s, which has set it back by like a dozen years. But we're going to try one last thing to give Mark at least a few moments to make some observations, if we can. Mark, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So I just want everybody to know, in all humility, we have an iPhone borrowed from one of the conference participants. We're going to put it up to this microphone and try and project Mark out to you all. So,
it will sound
Mark?
like that first moon conversation.
All right, here we go, Mark. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Can everyone hear me okay? Thumbs up on me a bit. Steve, I don't know if you can people hear me okay? Looks like I can actually see the room, so I can see you. And you can see me, which is great, but probably my mouth is not matching up with what I'm saying, what you're hearing. So we'll just try to ignore that part. And it's really wonderful to be with you and to speak at the ISCN conference that's happening. I'm sorry I can't be with you in Eugene, but what I wanted to share with you very briefly is an abbreviated version of my presentation given our time constraints. I started the Sustainable Endowment Institute, which is a special project of Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors, back in 2005 with the mission to really advance sustainability in higher education. And in 2006, we started work on building the very first green rating or green evaluation for colleges and universities in North America, called the College Sustainability Report Card. And so this was an initiative that we wanted to do to really start benchmarking and tracking sustainability activities at universities and colleges in North America, because with the old adage, you can't manage what you don't measure, we realized that there's a real need for more measurement. So I don't know if we can advance the slide very briefly. If you can flip to a couple of slides, perfect. That second slide is right there. I can see that. This is a rough timeline. It's not a complete timeline of all sort of related data collection and evaluation tools that are out there. But here's a few of the key points. We launched the first College Sustainability Report Card in 2007. Later that year, Sierra Magazine, Sierra Club's magazine that goes out to their million-plus members, issued a cover story on cool schools, which created a similar rating system. And that was a very effective means of reaching a wider audience. The next year, Princeton Review, which is a prominent college ranking and college rating producer of guidebooks along a variety of topics around undergraduate and graduate education, added a green rating to their prominent best colleges guidebook. And then several years later, Ghg in the background was working all along since about late 2007 on developing their own STARS, Sustainability Tracking and Assessment Rating System, STARS. And that program was launched in early 2010 after several tests prior to 2010. After that, obviously we heard earlier that the UI Green Metric ranking was launched later in 2010. And then the latest significant development in this space was in February 2012, just earlier this year, when four groups, our organization, Sustainable Endowment Institute, the Princeton Review, Sierra Magazine and ASHI, the Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education, came together to build a campus sustainability data collector. And we'll get to that in a minute. But if we can advance to the next slide. Just briefly want to give you a bit of information about our report card model. We've done 5 editions of the report card, and the last edition we published was in 2011. That edition has been our final edition to date. We announced earlier this year that we were suspending the program to work on a new major initiative called the $1 Billion Green Challenge. But the last report card that we did incorporated over 300 institutions from all 50 U.S. states and about 7 Canadian provinces. And we had incredibly high survey response rates, 87% for our campus survey, and as you can see, in the 80s for other 3 surveys. We handed out letter grades from A to F across 9 main categories, and the cumulative grades across those 9 categories were totaled into a cumulative GPA on a 4.0 scale. And that number was used to derive the institution's overall grade. Below each of the 9 categories, we had a total of 52 indicators. And if you'd like to know more about that, more information about that, if we go to the next slide, is on the next slide, and you can learn full information about that, the website listed at the bottom of that slide. I won't go into any of these details because of our time frame and our time limits, but let's advance to the next slide. This is just a brief sort of selection of some of the media coverage that the report card has gotten over the years. A lot of prominent publications picked up and covered this story, both because of the sort of, I think, the element of evaluating and rating colleges, but also just the topic in general is fascinating to many media outlets. If we can advance to the next slide. This is a screenshot of the homepage of the greenreportcard.org website. All of our data is online, publicly available. If you just go to www.greenreportcard.org, all of that information is available online, and you can look up surveys and other related data. We published over 10,000 pages of full survey data on this website, so you can find out specific information about each institution's sustainability programs. If you go to the next slide, you'll see we've built an interactive map so you can zoom in and look at any specific geographic area within North America and understand and look at the different grades and so forth. You advance to the next slide. You'll see this is our main search page, so you can actually sort and filter data based on specific interests. So you can look at institutions by name or by geographic location or by whether or not they have currently operating certain programs. If you go to the next page, you'll see that we have, these are the individual profiles. This is not the full profile, but it's the top part of it. Each of the 9 categories, there's the grade provided, and then it's a paragraph of information about the activities of that institution. Here's Oberlin College profile, for example. If we can advance to the next slide, I think this is a really important slide to feature here because there's just been a tremendous amount of progress. We all sort of know it from looking around and realizing that this field is rapidly expanding. But the amount of activity and the amount of change that's happened in just the last 5 or 6 years alone is truly remarkable. When we started research on our first report card in 2006, for example, only about 23% of institutions had a commitment to reducing carbon emissions. Now, it's nearly 2/3 of schools. That's an just incredible increase. Likewise, a campus farm or garden, just less than 10% of schools in 2006, 70% now. The green building policy was remarkable, from 22% to 79%. And then also the infrastructure around decision-making around sustainability with 40% in 2006 and now almost 100%, 95%. If we can advance to the next slide. Did want to briefly touch on the campus sustainability data collector. This was a major endeavor that we started almost a year and a half ago in early 2011 to bring together the 4 groups to design a streamlined approach to collecting all the sustainability data that was otherwise collected via 4 separate instruments by the 4 U.S. sustainability rating organizations. We partnered with, as I mentioned, Cornerstone Building, Sierra Magazine, ASHI, and ourselves to launch the Campus Sustainability Data Collector just a few months ago in February 2012, and it is indeed based on the STARS framework. So I had some additional prepared remarks, but in light of our time constraints, if we can advance to the next slide. This is the final slide. And I do like this quote. I think it's an important one to keep in mind as we proceed with our work, is really the best way to predict the future is to create it. Peter Drucker said that. My email address is at the bottom of that, and I don't know about the technology, but I would love to take questions if we can, and also hear questions for the other participants if I can't take questions. So thank you for your time, and it's great to be with you even if in this modified technical format.
Great, thank you very much, Mark. I also want to acknowledge that what we just saw was probably the technical equivalent to
a soccer goalie making a save in the last minute of the World Cup on a penalty kick. So, Steve, hands off to you. And Mark, thank you for your patience. Yep. 5 minutes for questions and answers before we have to run out the door next session. So, any questions that are in people's minds right now? Please, Jack, if you could use this microphone. Yeah, right. Yeah. That one.
Mark, let me just take you up in your last comment. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And this is a challenge to all of us. I think we've been using 20-year-old thinking about sustainability, and we're stuck in that framework. And what I hear coming out of Rio Plus 20 is some new conceptual repackaging, I think, with some important differences. Sustainability is a function of material capital, human capital, natural capital, times knowledge, both the scientific deep knowledge and understanding, but public knowledge and the strengths of our institutions to implement that. And I think that recasts things somewhat. And I think it means it challenges us to think, how do we now better measure the well-being of our campuses in the total? How do we measure our natural capital, not only in terms of its resources and its value to us, but how does it nurture us as human beings? These are some of the big challenges that I think the thought leaders out of ISCN and your group and Indonesia ought to really be working on.
Great, thanks, Jack. Mark?
Absolutely. So I think to the question, absolutely. I think the way we've thought for too long about natural resources and about sustainability as sort of being this separate thing needs to really need to integrate and think more holistically about this subject and about how sustainability really integrates with so much of what we do and is at the core of universities and colleges and their educational missions. I think to that end, one specific example, which is actually an area that we've chosen to focus our efforts on presently, is around how we classify and we think about expenses versus investments. There's a tremendous amount of money, about $400 billion with a B, invested just in university and college endowments alone, never mind the $300+ billion in operating budgets in U.S. colleges and universities annually. And when you think about just simple things like energy efficiency, most institutions still think about energy efficiency and classify energy efficiency improvements as something that they spend money on. It's not an expense, it's an investment. If you get more money back than you put into a program or a project, that's an investment and not an expense. And so that's what things like our $1 Billion Green Challenge program is all about, is trying to help shift that mindset and help us sort of get us to the 21st century so we're thinking appropriately and classifying appropriately things like energy efficiency and other programs as investments where you can capture that savings and actually ramp up investment to a much higher level than otherwise would be achievable when you think about something as an expense.
Great, thank you, Mark. Other questions, please. Please, sir, if you could come down and use the microphone so everyone can.
I just had a question. Okay. No, I just had a question about who is going to use this type of ranking. Is it to attract students to the colleges, or is it to rank them for the colleges by themselves in some kind of competition?
So the question is, who use the rankings? Professor Sari or Mark, do you want to address that?
Thank you. We have proof that many university leaders are using these rankings as their campaign and use that in their publications. But the major purpose for us is to make everyone learn that, well, we can learn from other institutions that has been working hard on sustainability. And we see that many university leaders, if they are really concerned on this, once they're in the rankings position, they say, oh yeah, we are number this and that's important for them. That's why a ranking last year in UNESCO, they were talking about the use and misuse of ranking. But for this purpose, we can use ranking as the attraction to put more actions in our university. So, well, whoever using them, the most important thing is how we work towards implementing the programs in our universities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. With that, I would like to thank our three speakers this morning. Aurora, Professor Sari, Mark, thank you very much for your patience with the technical issues. We now have to move somewhat promptly over to the stadium, where I believe we're playing football or something. We'll all head out, so thank you all for your attention.